इति भार्गवः मयिमं भूर् इति भार्गवः अथ तर्हि भवेत् पौत्रो अथ तर्हि भवेत् पौत्रो जमदग्ने ततः अभवत् जमदग्निस्ततो भवत् प्रसादितः सत्यवत्या मयिमं भूर् इति भार्गवः अतः तर्हि भवेत् पौत्रो जमदग्निस्ततो भवत् प्रसादितः सत्यवत्या मयिमं भूरिति भार्गवः अथ तर्हि भवेत् पौत्रो जमदग्निस्ततो भवत् प्रसादितः pacified सत्यवत्या by सत्यवती ma not evam thus bhuhu let it be iti thus bhargavaha the great sage atha if your son should not become like that tarhi then bhavet should become like that pautraha the grandson jamadagnihi jamadagni tataha thereafter abhavat was born. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhajacharanaarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Satyavati, however, pacified Richika Muni with peaceful words and requested that her son not be like a fierce Kshatriya. Richika Muni replied, then your grandson will be of a Kshatriya spirit. Thus, Jamadagni was born as the son of Satyavati. Can you repeat the translation? Satyavati, however, pacified Richika Muni with peaceful words and requested that her son not be like a fierce Kshatriya. Richika Muni replied, then your grandson will be of a Kshatriya spirit. Thus, Jamadagni was born as the son of Satyavati. Purport. The great sage Richika was very angry, but somehow or other Satyavati pacified him, and at her request he changed his mind. It is indicated here that the son of Jamadagni would be born as Parashurama. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport and translation to Canto 9, Chapter 15, text number 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Mama Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So here we see how Satyavati expertly pacified Richika Muni with peaceful words. Prasadita Satyavatya. Prasaditaha. She somehow pacified Satyavati pacified Richika Muni from his anger. Why was he angry? Because upon the request of Satyavati, Richika Muni's wife, and Satyavati's mother, Richika Muni prepared two oblations, one for each of them. But for Satyavati, his own wife, he prepared an oblation by honoring of which she can give birth to a Brahminical son. And then Richika Muni made another oblation for his mother-in-law or Satyavati's mother, by which, honoring that oblation, she can give birth to a Kshatriya son. But somehow Richika Muni, when he went for a bath, after giving these two oblations to both of them, Satyavati's mother thought, oh, actually, my daughter's oblation must be better than mine, because generally husband has a special inclination towards his wife. Therefore, her oblation must be better than mine. Therefore, she requested her daughter and exchanged the oblations. And therefore, the opposite of what is expected is going to happen. That means Satyavati's son will be a fierce Kshatriya, and that Satyavati's mother will have a Brahminical son. This is not very much appreciable, because the Brahmana's son must be a Brahmana. Richika Muni was a Brahmana, so it is expected that his son become a Brahmana but not a fierce Kshatriya. But unfortunately, because of this exchange, it has come to become like that. So he was very unhappy about that. That's what is being expressed here. So Richika Muni became very angry when he got to know that the oblations were exchanged. But somehow Satyavati pacified him. That is being discussed now. Prasadita Satyavatya. So she somehow pacified Richika Muni by peaceful words. Then Ma evam. She requested, Ma, that my son should not be a fierce Kshatriya. No, that is not desirable. So she was also not happy. So, Ma evam, let it be so, O Richika Muni. Then, somehow being pacified by his wife's good words, Bhu iti Bhargavaha, the sage said, Bhuhu, let it be so. Okay, I will accept your request. Your son will not be a fierce Kshatriya. But Atha, but if your son should not be a fierce Kshatriya, then Tarhi, Bhaved, Pautraha, your grandson Bhaved. He will be a fierce Kshatriya. If not your son, it should be your grandson. And who is that? It is Parashurama. So therefore, Parashurama was born as the grandson of Satyavati, and his son Jamadagni Tata Abhavat, after which Jamadagni took birth as the son of Satyavati with Brahminical qualities. And Parashurama was born with Kshatriya spirit or Kshatriya qualities. Although later on, by his tapasya, he became Brahmana, attained the state of a Brahma Rishi, which is very, very rarely attained. So here we see how this sage became angry. Although supposed to be a Brahmana who is supposed to control his anger. But there was a serious reasoning why he became angry. As we discussed, that he wanted to give birth to a Brahminical son who can continue his lineage. But then his son happens to be a Kshatriya because of the mistake done by his wife and his wife's mother. So the general analysis or the general expectation is one should not come under the sway of anger. It is not very highly appreciated, especially for those who are in spiritual life. In fact, to come under the influence of these 6 base qualities, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, is something very undesirable and very regrettable. The soul degrades himself under the influence of these 6 cardinal passions, which is not very desirable for a spiritualist, especially a spiritualist. This is an artificial condition of the soul. It is something like the soul being ghostly haunted, because the soul's qualities are completely spiritual, transcendental. Being part and parcel of Krishna, soul also is endowed with all divine qualities, as it is explained even in Nectar of Devotion and even many other literatures. Lord Krishna has got 64 transcendental qualities, and the Jiva, being part and parcel of Krishna, has got 50 transcendental qualities of Krishna's, although in minute quantity. Krishna has got all these divine qualities to its completeness, to an unlimited degree. The Jiva, being only an Amsha of the Lord, nonetheless possesses all these divine desirable qualities, which thereby makes him transcendental. But somehow, if we come under the sway or the influence of these qualities, those divine qualities become eclipsed. Like next week we have this Chandra Grahana coming, eclipse. It's called lunar eclipse, wherein the effect of the moon is covered, is eclipsed by Rahu. So the full effect of the potential of the moon will not be experienced. The moon cannot manifest its potency. Similarly, the soul cannot manifest its divine qualities, transcendental qualities, if it is influenced by these material qualities. So, if the soul is transcendental, how does these material undesirable qualities stick to the soul? How did they eclipse the soul? How did they overcome the transcendental nature of the soul? Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Karanam guna sangosya sat asat yoni janmasu. The soul, when it comes in contact with the 3 modes of material nature, acquires the qualities of the modes of nature. And depending upon which mode, whether sattva, rajas or tamas, which mode he associates, he acquires those qualities. So that is the origin of the soul acquiring the material qualities and degrading himself to a material position, material status, coming down to a material status from the spiritual transcendental status. This is where the soul falls down, although being part and parcel of Krishna. So the origin is his association with the 3 modes of material nature. So in the Bhagavad Gita 14th chapter, Lord Krishna discusses about this subject in detail. How do you recognize these modes? Because they say, unless you recognize, unless you see, you cannot act. So first of all, you have to be able to see, recognize, spot it. Then you can act on that. Anything. Suppose you observe some mistake. First of all, you have to recognize. Then only you can act on that. And then you can overcome that mistake. But if you don't even recognize, then. So therefore, we have to recognize what is Sattva-guna, what is Rajoguna, what is Tamoguna. If you don't even recognize, a person may be in Tamoguna thinking everything is fine with him. Person may be in Rajoguna thinking everything is fine with him. Person may be in Sattva-guna thinking it is fine. Actually, Sattva-guna is also not fine. Although the best of the three. So Krishna begins with explaining, so how do you know that what is Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna? In 14th chapter, text number 11, Krishna describes, Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyat vivriddham satyamut ityuta. So you are operating in which mode? The jiva in the material world, that means myself, yourself. In what mode am I operating my life? How do I know? It's very, very important to know. Otherwise, how do I do guna corrections or error corrections? How do I do if I don't know where I am, where I stand? So Krishna is helping us. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate. When all the gates of the body are illumined, prakasha upajayate. Upajayate, when it becomes manifest. Prakashaha becomes manifest. Sarvadvara dehesmin. When all the gates in the body are illumined. What are the gates? There are 9 gates in this body. The 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, the mouth, the 2 ears, and the private organs. So there are 9 holes in this body. And these are the holes through which either you can become contaminated or you can become illumined. So we had this corona some months back. We're entering through the nostrils, through all the holes of the body, right? Through the ear, through the eyes, through the mouth. So very dangerous. So like that, so the contamination of the modes, the entry door is actually the 9 holes. Therefore Krishna says, if they're illumined, that means if they're protected from contamination, then that is a symptom of the mode of goodness. That means when your gates are illumined, that means when your eyes, when your ears, when your tongue or your mouth, they are in Sattva-guna. That means you don't fall prey to this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. How does this happen? Jnanam yada tada vidyat vivriddham satyamutyuta. By gaining knowledge. In the platform of knowledge, the gates of the body remain illumined, enlightened. So when you are in an enlightened state, Sattva-guna, you generally don't do sinful activity. And vivriddham means incremental, to increase. So vivriddham satyam ityuta. So day by day, as you are in Sattva-guna, it complements. You become more and more illumined, more and more illuminated. So it's a very big encouragement. It's interesting. Every guna is like that. When you come under the trap of a certain guna, or when you're in a certain guna, it becomes the cause of incrementing that particular guna in your personality. So you're in Sattva guna, you will become more sattvic, more sattvic, more sattvic, more sattvic. In Rajo guna, you will become more radhasic, more radhasic. Same thing with Tamo guna. So this is Sattva guna. Then Krishna explains how do you recognize that you are in Rajoguna. Lobha pravrittir arambaha. When Vivriddhe Bharatarshaba, when there is the symptoms or the increment of Lobha, greed. Then Pravrittihi, means passionate activity, material activity, fruitive activity. Pravrittaha means, Prabhupada explains as fruitive activity. You want to do work with some result in expectation, in return. Otherwise, you're not interested in doing. That's why people in this world, you can see, most commonly you can observe, moment of work is there, they'll ask, what am I going to get? What is the return? What is my benefit? What is the financial implication? What is my profit? Immediately the brain works like that. Otherwise, he's not interested. That's why people don't do japa. People don't come to temple. Because he doesn't get materially any benefit. So he is not very interested in spiritual activity. So, pravritti, then arambaha means intense endeavor. Karmis, you can see typically, these are three symptoms of rajoguna, that you are working in rajoguna. Too much endeavor. Sometimes we see materialistic people, even if things are very difficult to execute, instead of giving it up, they will stretch it till the last mile possible. So much endeavor they'll put in. Just like you work 18 hours a day and still get the 2 loaves of bread. And earlier people were working 6 hours or 5 hours, still they were getting the 2 loaves of bread. So people don't mind working 18 hours. Earlier, you may go only few hundred meters to have your livelihood. Actually going outside the city for one's livelihood is a bad karma. It is considered very unfortunate. It is actually misfortune. And to go out of country for livelihood, the worst ever thing which can happen. Just for 2 loaves of bread, you have to go out of the country. You have to go out of the city. You have to travel 100 miles. It is very unfortunate, right? Good luck, good fortune means at your own home you can produce your own economy and food by having cows and agricultural land. It's good karma. It's very fortunate. You don't even have to go out of your home to earn your livelihood. You have an agricultural field and you have cows. This is the Vedic system of economy. But people, endeavor so much, working 18 hours, 16 hours. So this is a symptom of Rajoguna. So then, Karmanam Ashamaspriha. Further, Krishna describes Ashamaspriha, uncontrollable desires. Ashama Spriha. Spriha means desire. Ashama means uncontrollable. Shamaha means to control. Ashama means uncontrollable. Uncontrollable desire, material desires. And that's why you see materialistic people, they're so passionate, it's very difficult to turn them from those desires and those materialistic goals. So Ashama Spriha. Rajasyetani Jayante. All these things arise due to Rajoguna. Rajoguna being dominant in his personality, in his consciousness. Vivriddhe Bharatarshibha, and it increases. And as I said, once you get stuck in this loop, it keeps on rotating. And you can never come out of this loop. Any loop you are stuck in, within the 3 modes, you are stuck for life. Actually for eternity. You are stuck for eternity. Any loop, materially you are stuck in. Then, what is the symptom of a person that he is in Tamoguna or he is working in Tamoguna? Aprakashaha. The first symptom Krishna says is darkness. Prakasha means illumination. Things are very clear. There is clarity in thought, clarity in what he does. But in Tamoguna, it is aprakasha. There's darkness, no clarity, ignorance, confusion, dilemma. All these things are Tamoguna. Not very clear. Don't know what to do. Bewildered. So all these things means aprakashaha. Then apravrittihi. That means inertia. No interest in doing any work. Simply lie down. No, it's called inertia. Inertia means state of inactivity. state of inactivity, does not want to work. At least a person in Rajoguna has some passion to work. Person in Tamoguna has no passion to work. Inertia, inactivity. Then pramadaha, madness. One goes into state of madness. And moha, illusion. So when these symptoms are present, one knows for sure is in Tamoguna. Just like when you go to a doctor, he will have either a stethoscope or there is Nadi Pariksha. Whichever kind of treatment you take, Ayurveda or allopathy, there are symptoms. So when the patient explains, this is my symptom, this is my symptom, this is my symptom, then the doctor will say, oh, that means this is your disease. When the patient says, this is the symptom, this is the symptom, then that means this is your disease. And there's a treatment accordingly. So when the symptoms are known, then the treatment follows. But if you don't even recognize the symptom, sometimes the patient says, no, everything is all right. They don't want to go for treatment. We know some people like that also. Sometimes they will not agree. No, you are telling I'm not well. No, I'm perfectly all right. Especially Tamoguna is very, very strange and peculiar and very interesting also. A typical example, as Krishna himself describes here, is pramada. Prakrishta rupena mada. Special madness. There is plain madness, there is special madness. Tamoguna means superlative degree of madness. Just like in a mental hospital, a person who is mad, mentally not okay, he is admitted to a mental hospital. When the doctor tries to speak to him, converse with him, you can never convince this mental patient that he is mental. Rather, he'll say, the doctor, you are mental. Prabhupada explains this. So, when the doctor tries to give an injection, you have seen that in mental hospital, the mental patient will suddenly snatch off the injection from him and he will actually give up that injection to the doctor. So this happens. This is called madness. He will never agree he is in Tamoguna. So similarly, a person in the modes of nature, in general, a conditioned soul does not agree that he is in Maya, that he is under the influence of the modes. Even a person in Sattvaguna does not agree that he is conditioned. Actually, Sattvaguna is also conditioning. Krishna explains that in the 14th chapter. Sattvaguna is also conditioning. But every person in every particular mode is convinced that he is in the best ever situation of his life. He is in his best form. But actually, he is totally conditioned, bound, and he is a slave of that guna. But he does not accept, does not want to accept. See, if he does not know, it's a different thing. But if he does not want to accept, that's a very unfortunate state. Just like the patient, he is sick, fine. But if he does not want to admit that he is sick, where the cost of treatment? Then where the cost of accepting the treatment of the doctor? That's why Tamoguna, as I said, is the worst of all those situations, wherein he thinks that he is perfectly all right, rather the doctor is not all right. So he will never take the treatment. He will reject the treatment. But the pure devotees of the Lord, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Prabhupada also quotes quite a few times in his lectures, pure devotees of the Lord are very, very compassionate and kind. They take all the risk and trouble to treat the conditioned souls, to release them from the effect of the modes of nature. The ghost which I talked about is actually the three modes of material nature, which is engulfing the soul's true nature. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told one nice story, that there was once one young boy and he had a big boil in his hand, unfortunately. So then it was not getting cured. So his parents decided that let us take him to the doctor to operate and get the boil cut off, removed. by surgery. So they take him to the hospital. But the boy was all the time unwilling to go to the hospital. And finally they brought him to the hospital somehow. And then they brought him to the doctor and said, "Doctor, please remove this boil. My son is suffering very badly. A lot of pain is there." But this small young boy, he is not willing to undergo the surgery. He is rebelling. He is saying, "No, no, no, no. I will not undergo surgery. I will not undergo surgery." He is rebelling like anything. And finally they have to catch his hands and legs, and still he's kicking his hands and kicking his legs and trying to get away from the mother, father and the doctor. But somehow, with all their might, they catch his hands and legs, and finally the doctor does the operation, and the son is shouting and screaming like anything. "Ah!" And finally the operation is over. And then he feels, "Ah." That time it was "Ah," now it is. So this is the difference. So although there is great difficulty and is rebellious, somehow the doctor, out of his kindness, did the surgery and relieved him from the pain once and for all. Similarly, the conditioned soul does not accept the treatment of Krishna consciousness, does not accept the good advice of the spiritual master or the superior authorities. He doesn't want to accept. His mind is like that. The conditioned mind is like that, does not want to accept instructions from the spiritual master and the spiritual authorities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this in one song. So, but still, the spiritual master, out of his kindness, gives valuable instructions. The superior authorities give valuable instructions, although they may look to be little difficult to accept, to digest. Just when surgery is going on, some pain is there. It will relieve you once and for all after the surgery from all painful experience. So somehow we should mentally prepare our mind to accept those instructions for our good. Then, when you become completely free from the effect of the three modes, there's a great relief. You will actually experience it personally. Initially, there is some difficulty. So these are the effects of the three modes. And what do you get from the three modes? Krishna explains in text number 17, 14 chapter. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. From the sattva guna, you develop knowledge. Rajaso lobha evacha. From rajoguna, what do you get? What can you expect? Lobha. You become greedy. Then pramada moho tamasaha. From tamoguna, what do you expect? What can you get from tamoguna? You can get more madness, pramada, and illusion. There's a bonus also. So not only madness, illusion also. Not only that, foolishness also. So you can get foolishness, you can become illusion, you can become mad. This is the thing which you can get from tamoguna. So bhavato, so Krishna is saying, so this is what you expect. Ajnanam evacha. So pramada, moha and ajnana. So these three things you get from tamoguna. So having understood, then Krishna goes on to explain what are the what do you get from being affected by the three modes. Now we discussed, but what do you get from by transcending the three modes or coming to Shuddha Sattva platform? That Krishna describes. Gunan etan atitya trin dehi deha samudbhavan. Gunan etan atitya trin. By transcending these three modes, which dehi, the conditioned soul embodied in its body, deha samudbhavan. A very important point. Prabhupada explains the translation. Deha samudbhavan. These three modes are associated with the material body. Deha samudbhavaha. not Atma Samudbhavaha. They are connected with the material body, not the spirit soul. So these three modes work only on the material body, material mind, material ego, not on the spirit soul. There's a very important clue is given here by Krishna. So that is why you have to extract or deliver the soul from this material body, material mind, material ego. Then the soul is liberated and happy. Otherwise he suffers unnecessarily under the influence of the three modes, wherein he need not be under its influence, but he has voluntarily come under its influence. And after contacting the modes, now you cannot say relieve me. No. First of all, you should not come under the influence or association of the modes. But after you associate, then in the fight with the modes, only the modes of nature will be ever victorious. Therefore, don't declare fight, as simple as that. Don't associate with the three modes. But if you associate, you are finished. No question of overcoming modes, including great sages. Including great sages. All through the Bhagavatam, that's what we see. Great sages have come under the sway and control of anger, lust, greed, illusion. Now what are we? We are only sadhakas. Some of them not even sadhakas. Most of them not even sadhakas. Even expert tapasvis, expert jnanis are not able to overcome the influence of three modes. What are we? Where is our power? So, therefore, first of all, let's not associate. Otherwise, it is difficult to overcome. So, because of this body, the three modes are influencing us. So, the benefit of transiting the three modes is Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Dukkha Vimukto Amritam Ashnute. The benefit of Tamoguna is illusion, madness, ignorance. Then Rajoguna is greed. Satoguna is knowledge, but which binds us to this world, not which is transcending, which makes us transcend. Therefore, person in Satoguna also is bound by a sense of material happiness and a sense of so-called material peaceful situation, comparable to the Rajasic and Tamasic persons. But no state is steady in material platform. Very soon that peaceful state will be unsettled. That is how this material world is designed. Very soon your peaceful state, your comfortable state, everything will go for a toss. So Krishna is saying, on the other hand, the benefit of transcending the modes is freedom from birth, death, old age and distress thereof. And further, Amritam Ashtute, you can even taste nectar. Even in this material body. Interestingly, in this material body, because of the material body, we discussed that the modes are influencing. Krishna is saying, if you transcend the modes, even though not out of this material body, still you can experience nectar and freedom from birth, death, old age and their associated distresses. So it's a very important clue Krishna is giving. See the contrast Krishna is giving, comparative study, so that you can choose the better. Then immediately Arjuna questions in text 21. Krishna, he asks Arjuna asks Krishna, then what are the symptoms of a person who's transcended modes? What are the symptoms? Then Krishna gives a big list in text 20 Arjuna asks the question. Text 21 Krishna describes. No, text 21 Arjuna asks. 22 to 25 Krishna gives a whole lot of things about the symptoms of a person who has transcended the modes. Then, after explaining the symptoms of a person who has transcended the modes, it's very inspiring to know, because it is a peaceful state of existence. Spiritually peaceful state of existence. Materially, whatever the situation may be, spiritually one can remain peaceful, even amidst a very disturbed material state. Because material world is always in a state of disturbance. Always in a state of disturbance. That is material world, how it is designed. But you can remain spiritually peaceful. That is the gift of transcending the three modes of nature. Therefore, the question will come, having been inspired, oh, then I must transcend the modes. How do I do that? Krishna says in text 26, after describing the symptoms of a person who is transcended, actually we can read that. It is so inspiring to know that state of existence. See, we should look from these verses from a very practical perspective. Then you appreciate. Don't look it from a philosophical angle. Look it from a very practical, realistic perspective. Relate with the contemporary situation with your life. Then it will strike you. Just like if you want to inspire somebody about something, you have to first of all add value to what you want him to appreciate. As you appreciate, you should make him appreciate first of all. Otherwise, simply thinking, oh, he's in Maya, it's not going to work. As you have developed appreciation to a certain thing, suppose it could be Krishna consciousness, could be even in your normal life. If you appreciate, you should be able to make the other person appreciate equally. Further, you have to do value creation. So that's what Krishna is doing here. What is the importance of, what is the danger of associating with modes? First of all, Krishna explained. Then what is the benefit of transcending the modes? That Krishna is explaining now. So once a person knows, himself will accept it. You don't have to push it. That's why Krishna says, Param Drishtma Nivartate. Krishna conscious process is different. It is not a forced process. It is a voluntary process. When somebody experiences the higher quality of Krishna consciousness, naturally he'll give up the lower qualities of material life. But you should give him an opportunity to taste bhakti rasa. Then he'll give up material rasa. So, here Krishna is saying, text 22 to 25. He who does not hate illumination, the symptoms of a person who has transcended the three modes. He who does not hate illumination, attachment and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear. One who is seated like one unconcerned, indifferent to material situations, being situated beyond material reactions of the modes of nature, remains firm, steady, doesn't oscillate, steady in his Krishna conscious practices. See, sometimes we practice, sometimes we can't practice. So we're not very steady. So that means we're not present in the modes. We're very firm in all our practices of Krishna consciousness. That means it's a symptom that is a liberated soul. Knowing that in all his activities, the modes alone are active. One who regards alike pleasure and pain, not choosing one among them. No, one who treats pleasure and pain alike. And looks on a clod, a stone and a piece of gold with equal eye. Then Krishna goes on to describe so many things. Said to be a man who has transcended the modes of nature. So having said that, now the obvious next question would be then what should I do to attain that status? Having been inspired to be free from the three modes of nature. Because in that state it is simply nectar, simply freedom from all kinds of material distresses. So that is a very desirable state, even for a common man. Even he will aspire. Then what is the path? Krishna describes in text 26, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One verse Krishna describes how you can overcome the three modes at one go, one shot. What is that? Very simple. Avyabhicharena bhaktena. Bhakti yogena. Avyabhicharena bhakti yogena. One should engage in full devotional service. Prabhupada used the word full. That means undivided. That means unbreaking. Without break. That's why the word avyabhicharena is used. Vyabhicharena, avyabhicharena. Avyabhicharena means undivided, unfailing in all circumstances. So avyabhicharena bhakti, yogena sevate, if you can execute that quality of devotional service every moment, then sagunan samatitya etan. Immediately, how much time it will take? After you do today? Tomorrow? No. Today evening? No. Instantly, simultaneous to your engagement in full devotional service. That means you should give your fullness. Then the result is not almost instantaneous, it is instantaneous. Sagunan Samiti Tetan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate immediately comes to the state of spiritual platform. Immediately. So this is the potency of executing devotional service in fullness, without any reservations, unfailing in any situation. Actually, devotional service is also very pleasing. Susukam kartum avyam, Krishna describes the 9th chapter. But still we are not accepting, because it is the material mind, the material conditioning, which is actually rebelling. Which if we can understand and detect this flaw upon the pure spirit soul, you can separate it off. That's why I said, once you know the mistake or the defect, then only you can work on it. If you can't detect the mistake, you can't work on it. Similarly, you should know the soul is pure, you are pure, but the defect is the material body and the material mind. Associated with the material modes, simply defective. But you have nothing to do with this defect. So therefore, don't try to set right, just separate. That's why Krishna says in the 15th chapter, next chapter, Krishna conscious process is not to set right things, separate off the things. Don't try to set right your system from Sattvaguna, from Tamoguna to Rajoguna to this, that. No. Modes are always influencing so long you have the material body. Therefore, the best thing is to separate or to what is called as transcend. That's why the example is given. You should become like a dried up coconut within the coconut shell. So then even within the coconut shell, the pulp is separated. Similarly, even though within the material body, when you engage in Krishna consciousness, full Krishna consciousness, then you become separated from the material body, meaning from the influence of the material modes. Then you feel relief. That state of existence is completely different. You experience transcendental peace, freedom from anger, lust, greed, etc. Otherwise, they simply harass the conditioned soul. The disturbance is actually within, not without. But we think the disturbance is outside. Actually, the disturbance is within, inside. The 3 modes is a big disturbance. The 6 cardinal passions, kama, krodha, lobha, are simply a great disturbance, turbulence for the spirit soul. And because we are disturbed, we will disturb others. If I am lusting, I will disturb others. If I am angry, I will disturb others. So actually the disturbance is not outside, it is within. Therefore you disturb others. But when we are peaceful, that's why you can see Prabhupada, when he went to the Western world, they don't even know how to recognize a saintly person. Yet by his very presence, they could feel transcendental peace. They don't know what is transcendental peace. They don't know what is transcendental. They don't know what is peace. They don't know what is modes, what is freedom from modes, what is spiritual experience. Not even experienced. Personalities like Kumaras have not experienced bhakti rasa, transcendental experience. What to speak of hippies and conditioned souls in this world. Yet, we can see just by the very presence of a pure devotee of Krishna, like Prabhupada, these hippies they felt something transcendental. Every hippie felt that. It's a phenomenon. It is not 1 or 2 cases, it is a phenomenon. Every single hippie in his highest tamoguna still could sense the highest Shuddha Sattva in Prabhupada. Instantly. Because at his heart, he nurtures transcendental peace, transcendental joy. So they could see that in Prabhupada. One simple Jai Radha Madhava Prabhupada will play, no banging the mridanga, but they are jumping to the ceiling. Here sometimes we bang also, the leg will not move. Tamoguna. But there we can see, Prabhupada is just playing the harmonium in a single note, the first note, just in a, because we start in a slow pace. Still the hippies are so enthralled. So this is the power of spiritual, operating in spiritual mode. That means, I will close here, that means when you operate more spiritually, less effort you have to put. The effect is pronounced. But if you are working materially, your endeavor will be too high, but the result will be too less. You will work very hard, but the effect will not be, the impact is not there. But if you work spiritually, less effort, I mean, it is not that therefore rest of the time you take rest. Even with the less effort, the impact is very high. That's why you can see Prabhupada, you see, to build this movement in 10 years. That means every day Prabhupada made 3 full-time devotees. In 10 years, 10,000 devotees. Every day 3 full-time devotees. You think Prabhupada sat with him and preached him 3 hours every day? Nowhere. This is transcendental effect. This is spiritual purity. So that's the beauty and the joy of Krishna conscious life. Then why will we be behind these kind of base qualities? Such a transcendental life is available, provided you give up this association with the 3 modes: lust, greed, anger, etc. But all these lust, greed, anger, except envy, has a place in Krishna consciousness. Maybe some other time we can discuss. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, such great expert acharyas can convert even those cardinal passions into transcendental qualities, and they can become a great support and encouragement to advance in Krishna consciousness, except envy. Because envy does not remain in a devotee. Once you are a devotee, envy itself separates. So other than that, Bhakti Maharaj says, all the 5 qualities can become a great encouragement for the devotee. So that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Stop here. Granthrak Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.